Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stock Talk Thursday. It is June 9th today. Please feel free to throw in your comments and your questions. Always love for this to be interactive. We're going to jump right into the market and see what's been going on. It's been a little bit interesting recently with everything that's kind of going sideways. Let me share my screen. There you go. Now you can see it. So we're just jumping right in here, looking at the S&P 500. Okay, we're right about the same place that we were a week ago. It's been a long time since I've been able to say that because things have been so volatile, but we're just kind of stuck. What's going on here? Well, one of the reasons we might be a little bit stuck is we've got a really big report coming out tomorrow. And that's the CPI report, Consumer Price Index report. And essentially what that does is it measures inflation. And if this report comes out and the news is a little bit better than expected, we could potentially be seeing a breakout to the upside. If this report comes out and the news is a little bit worse than expected, then we probably will see a breakout to the downside. So not a whole lot of movement's been happening as we're building up to this report. I would imagine that next week when we're all looking at Stock Talk Thursday here, that we're going to see some more movement that has happened within the market. But lately, we've just kind of been stuck between this price level here right about at 40.80 and this price level right about 41.60. Kind of between the EMAs, this 20, which is now right along with the 10 EMA, has been acting as support, and the 50 EMA has kind of been acting as resistance. So, like I said, it's kind of stuck. It's going to break out at some point. The question is, which direction is it going to go? We are also approaching this downtrending resistance line. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Could it keep going sideways, hit that line, and then start moving down? It absolutely could. So that's the big question right now. That makes it a bit challenging as a trader to go ahead and get into certain directional positions, just because we don't know which direction it is going to go. Could be one or the other. But once it does break out, whether to the upside or the downside, I would anticipate that the breakout's going to be fairly significant. All right, let's take a look at what was hot last week. Remember, last week we looked at USO, which is actually not a stock. It is an ETF. When we talked about what that was, and that this particular one is measuring a section of the oil industry. And as you can see, it is just screaming. Last week, we were running right up against this resistance line right here, which actually has some history to it. Look at the last 3 years. That line used to be support way back in 2019. Come up right up to this line. And once already, it has touched. This was a few months ago. It did touch that line. It came right back down. And we pushed right up against it. Came down for a couple days. But then this was Friday, I believe. Friday, yep, it did push through and sat on it on Monday as support and then has moved up from there. So USO, the whole oil industry, energy sector, all of it, honestly, still being very bullish. So USO is definitely still hot. Well, what was not hot last week? This was the curveball that I threw at you guys. Apple. I don't really see Apple being one that is not hot. Usually it's a screamer, but lately it has been moving down quite a bit. Apple is looking lately a little bit more like the overall market, and so it also is just kind of moving sideways the last few weeks. So I wouldn't say that Apple has been hot, but it's not necessarily not hot. It's just kind of sideways. I would imagine that a lot of the investors that invest in Apple are also looking towards that report coming out tomorrow. So whichever direction that the overall market wants to break out, either up or down, I would imagine Apple's going to follow suit. So we'll have to see in a few days what that looks like. All right, let's take a look at what is hot in the market right now. Now, the way that I found this next one is a little bit different than what I usually do. I usually come to this sector chart right up here, but I did this one a little differently. I don't know if I've showed you guys this before yet, but what I did was I came to the watch tab, came in here, and I'm looking at percentage gainers. So essentially over the last over the day, what has moved up the most. And I looked at this yesterday, so you might not see it on here right now, but the one that I came up with is BABA, B-A-B-A. We'll see why. Now you can see, well, it's down today. Yes, it is down today, but that's a little bit expected, right? Look at this massive move up that it made yesterday. Now, a couple things about Alibaba. It's a Chinese online commerce company, okay? Potentially the largest in the world. They're a little different than Amazon in that they don't own the merchandise themselves. Amazon actually owns the merchandise and then resells it. Alibaba doesn't actually own the merchandise, but they are an online shopping center, essentially, also. Online marketplace. So a couple things we need to look at. Let's go ahead and zoom out here. Let's actually zoom out a little bit further. There we go. You can see that for the last year and change, Alibaba has just been pushed down by this dashed red line, which is my 100 simple moving average. Okay. So for a while, it's been not hot. In fact, I don't remember, but it might have even made my not hot list in the past. So that's once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times that it has come right up to or very close to that 100 simple moving average and has been pushed down. So what's changed? Why is this on our hot list? Well, let's look at what's happened in the last little bit here. We can come back to the 6-month chart. We have a little bit of basing going on right here. There's my lines. Let's throw a line in here. We got a little bit of support. And this support is also a little bit higher than the previous low. Alibaba had a great earnings report. That started putting things in the right direction as well. And then look what happened yesterday. Remember, I pointed out this 100 simple moving average is very important because for the last year and more, it has not made it above. Yesterday, it made it above, and it made it above with conviction. Now, it's still, the last year it's been down a lot, but over the last couple weeks, it's been up quite a bit. It was down at about $81 just a couple weeks ago. Yesterday, it closed up at about $120. In 2 weeks, that's up 50%. That's hot. There's potential that this thing might be turning around. We made a higher low. We've broken a key resistance area. And now after a big move up like that, it only makes sense that it might come down some. I would look for it to bounce off of an exponential moving average, maybe a 5-day, maybe the 10-day. Maybe it comes down and sits on the 100 simple and then it bounces up. So there is hope for Alibaba in that stock to be bullish. And that's why this guy is our hot stock for the day. Now, there's no guarantee it's going to do that. It could absolutely come back down and fail and break this support line right there. It absolutely could do that. But that's not a small move up above the 100 simple. That is a move up with conviction. It actually gapped up above that and then kept moving up on very high volume too. Nearly 100 million shares traded. All right, that was more than the last earnings report. Usually earnings reports are going to produce the high volume bars, but the last earnings report, in fact, the last time that it traded that many shares was on this day right here, March 16th. Had a really big move up. That was actually the start to a little bit of this right here. That was the low. They must have had some good news because then it really moved up quite a bit, came down, put in a slightly higher low, and starting to move up again. So Alibaba coming in as our hot stock for the day. All right, now what is not hot in the market? For this, we went ahead and just went with the old school way. We're looking at the month. So sector chart last month. What is the only thing that has actually been down in the last month? And that would be, well, actually, there's 2 of them right now. But the one that we're going to look at is consumer defensive. That one's down about 5%, as you can see. So we're going to come back to our good old heat map. We've got 1 month set. And that doesn't look right. I need to reset my filters. There we go. And consumer defensive coming up to the top right here. Gonna make this bigger. Filters, let's go ahead, and I just want to see what is the worst one in here. We're going to go ahead and change our filters, and we'll put it right about there. See what comes up. Okay, there's several. Actually, the one that I had picked is not even showing up anymore. Let's pull it out a little bit. You know, I'm just going to give it to you. It was Target. Yesterday, Target was the worst one in here. I don't see it in there right now, so I wonder if maybe they moved up a little bit. Let's go ahead and throw Target in here. See what's been going on. Okay, they didn't move up too much. All right, here we go. Target, you can see right off the bat, there's this massive move down right here. That was on the earnings from the last time. The earnings was, you know, they were estimating $3 per share of earnings, and they only got $2.19. Okay, that's a massive miss, and therefore you have the massive gap as well. This was a 24% drop overnight. That's pretty big. That's really big. You're probably looking at billions of dollars in market cap lost. The high right here, right around 250, down to the lows near about 140-ish, right there, 148 or so. In a month and a half, that's a 48% drop. I'm sorry, correction, 42%. That's still massive. 48, 42, whatever. I mean, at that point, it's like, okay, that's definitely not hot, and that's why we are making our not hot list. Now, here's another thing. Oftentimes, when a stock has a massive gap, it's going to move to what they call fill the gap, right? It might actually come and fill the gap and get back near where it was before, and then maybe bounce down. So like in this case, it might move up from right around the $160 level up to about the $210 level, and then maybe start to roll or something like that. Do whatever. Target has not done that. It has not filled the gap. In fact, it continued to move down after the gap. Then it started to move up, and it only got as far as the previous high there. As soon as it hit that high, it started to move down again. So this is one of those where it's definitely not hot, and it's not looking like it wants to be hot either. There's not a whole lot of hope for this thing turning around and becoming bullish. So that's why Target is our not hot stock. Let's look at the weekly chart real quick. Got a note in here to drop a line on the $155 mark. And let's take a look at this. This is pretty cool. This is why I love technical analysis. Look at this back in August 2020. Had a nice big run up right about to that $155 level and then moved down. Moved up above that, came and turned that into support right there and moved up again. And now on this massive drop down, you can see it came right down to about 155. So that's a pretty significant line to watch. So how significant would that be if Target goes ahead and breaks this line for good? We could see some pretty significant downward movement, maybe to 130 or so. This previous high right there, that's the high right before the COVID crash. So you can see just right off this weekly chart right here, this thing is anything but hot. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today. I want to let you guys know about our Workshop 2 event. That'll be coming up, I believe. Oh, man, I don't remember now. It's either next week or this weekend. But you can find out just by emailing events@tradeway.com. If you haven't been through our Workshop 2 yet, then that would be a fantastic opportunity. You're going to learn some more, just more wisdom, honestly. Learn about putting together a trading plan. Learn some new strategies, including one of my favorites called the Iron Condor. So this will be a great opportunity to further your trading knowledge and to learn from some of our best coaches. That's going to wrap it up for Stock Talk Thursday. We'll be with you again next week. We'll see you.